Previously on the Tonya Tko show.
Friends and family members, you become like the 5 closest people to you. It does nobody any good if you both stay down. I allowed her to get me into rubbing and smearing mud all over his car. I can't help the poor if I'm one of them. It makes me emotional because I've had to have this conversation with several of the people who were closest to me along different stages of my life. And like I said, it's difficult because there's nothing wrong with them. You enjoy them. However, the shift and the direction that you're going in, either they choose not to go, don't have the knowledge of how to get there, or are unwilling to travel that route as well. So it's difficult when you leave people, quote unquote, behind. And I'm going to tell you 2 stories. These 2 stories are what solidified for me that I was doing the right thing. I had a friend that was very close to me, and we conversed daily, sometimes several times a day. And I realized that there were certain directions that I wanted to go in my life in order to gain success. And remember, like I said, you become like the 5 closest people to you. And if you are the most ambitious, the most intelligent, the most spiritual, that leaves very little room for you to ascend. And you are the umbrella underneath where everyone else rises up or glows up. I had a friend who was really close to me, and we would talk daily, sometimes several times a day. And it got to the point where I'd already had the conversation with this person once, and a year had passed and things had not changed. And so I had the conversation a second time. When time came to have the conversation a third time, I just decided to go ahead and just make a shift slowly and just remove myself from the situation, because I had spoken my truth, I had expressed myself to the person, and they still were in their space. God bless them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being who it is that you are. That's who it is that we fell in love with. However, when we start making shifts and the other person is not shifting as well, sometimes we shift so far that we are no longer compatible as friends, as more than friends, etc. So the time came to make this shift, and I slowly just began to just ease myself out of the relationship. And then when one day came, I just didn't have it in me anymore to continue the relationship. And I was like, I apologized then, but I had already spoken my truth, and the person knew exactly how it is that I felt, what it is that I needed. And sometimes people can't provide you with what it is that you need. Sometimes there are limiting beliefs. Sometimes there's just lack of knowledge. There was this one particular day that I had truly made the decision that I was going to shift out of this relationship. On this particular day, my associate had called me, and I wasn't able to answer the call because I was in the middle of something else. And with that time, I contacted, I don't know if you guys know of TED Talk, I contacted a TEDx organizer. This organizer spent an hour on the phone with me, telling me what it is that they look for in speakers, and just really investing a lot of time in helping me get to where it is that I wanted to be. And I realized on this day that part of the reason that an hour of time had been created in my day is because I no longer conversed with this other person daily. Now, there were several different things that happened when I stopped conversing with this person daily. There was a part of me that felt fatigued from the conversations. There's some friends that you have that you have to repair yourself after the conversation. So I would feel fatigued. Sometimes I would feel drained. Sometimes I would be in a space where I needed to then shift my energy. But when that was no longer in my life, I had the free time, I had the space physically, and I had the space psychologically and emotionally to be able to be there and show up for myself, and to allow this other person to take an hour of my day to really pour in and invest in me and helping me get to the next level. And this for me taught me that in our friendships as well as in our relationships, how people say that when you're in a particular relationship, you're taking up your time stopping the right person from coming along. So in our friendships, while we're there being the most this and the best that, the highest this or that, where's the space for us to grow in those relationships? However, if we create the space to allow other people to come in, we can enter into relationships where there's some people who are here, some people who are there, you're in the middle, you're at the height of some things, you're in the middle at some things, at the bottom of other things, and so you all volley off of one another and you all are able to help each other reach up to certain levels. And then once a person becomes the best of everything in that group, then it's time for them to move on to another group as people continue to move up the ranks and up the realms. The second story, there was a friend that I had that had limiting beliefs about finances. And money is a very touchy topic because many people like to say, oh, I don't need money, I don't want money, etc. And those people never will. There's a part of us that feels like, oh, if I'm just humble enough, or if I say, oh, no, I don't want. But our guardian angels hear us. First of all, your subconscious mind does not have a sense of humor. So when you speak these things become reality for you. So people who are like, oh, I don't need a lot of money. Notice those people don't have a lot of money. People are like, oh, I don't like money, it's the root of all evil, etc., etc. Notice that those people don't have money hanging around. Why is money going to hang around a place where it's not wanted? Money is not going to bop, 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 beat on your door and bang and jump itself and like, I'm going to get into your pocket. And you're like, no, I don't want you. The money is just going to jump to somebody else who does want it. Because if you don't want the money, believe me, like with homeostasis, you're going to find a way to get rid of that money. So I was in this friendship with a person who had very limiting beliefs about finances. This person always had some sort of financial struggle. This was after the time that I had already closed my business. When I closed my business and sold off all of my items and property, etc., I had a sum of money to be able to last me for a year. That's when I went off to go write my books in Central and South America, etc. And so the amount of money that I had was more money than most people have in cash at one time, right? And in this particular relationship with this person, it was more money than this person, I don't know, had even ever earned in their life. I don't know, because I don't know how much this person ever earned. But it was a large sum of money that this person had a hard time wrapping their head around. And so they would give me advice about different things that I can do to spend the money on. Things that I didn't feel were good investments. And I'm not going to take investment advice from a person with financial limiting beliefs who hasn't achieved what it is that they need to achieve financially. That's just one facet right there. So I remember there was this one day that this person and I were having a conversation, and it was a very difficult conversation because it had reached a boiling point at this point. And I remember that I was downplaying. I began feeling guilty about the money that I had, downplaying, and then also playing broke, right? Because it's like, people who are asking you for money, asking you to invest in these different things and telling you what you should do with your money and counting what's in your pocket. There's a temptation for you to be like, oh, I don't really have that much. Oh, I'm down here. Oh, I'm having problems too. Oh, this, that, and the other. And I remember when I had my business and the friend that I had at the time, the one who was like, oh, you just ask him for money. I remember how I had fallen into that cycle in that relationship. So in this relationship, I decided to do something different and I decided to have a conversation. So I sat the person down and I said, I find myself downplaying the amount of money that I have. I find myself playing broke and minimizing myself, speaking these things out loud. I find myself doing that a lot in this relationship. There's a part of me that feels a certain amount of guilt for having the amount of money that I have, and I see that you're having certain issues and you have certain limiting beliefs, etc. And I find myself playing broke and downplaying and all of these other things in this relationship. And I wonder, why is the temptation for the person who is at a certain level to bring themselves down to make their friend more comfortable? Instead of the temptation being, let me rise myself up to this level, rather than me bringing and constricting and bringing myself back down. Why is the disposition not for our friends and associates to say, let me rise up to this level? Why should one person bring themselves down, not to make another person feel uncomfortable, rather than the standard being, you know what, this is where my friend is. Let me do what I need to do to get there. Let me pick my friend's brain. Let me ask for information. Let me do what I need to do to get up there, or congratulate them and appreciate them for the level that they are at, instead of wanting them. Why would any friend want their friend to bring themselves down, to meet us on our level, rather than us pulling ourselves up, asking them, beseeching information, watching, moving, and doing things in a similar way to get us to where it is that we need to be, or just getting on our hustle or our grind? Why would any friend want a friend to pull themselves down rather than them pulling themselves up? And when I had that conversation, I realized that there was no reason for me to play small or pretend, because these are self-fulfilling prophecies. You speak these things out loud, you speak them into existence, and then the next thing you know, you and your friend are right back down there in the bottom of the well together. It was then that I made the decision that no, I'm going to do what I need to do for me. I like money. I like what money affords us to be able to do, the freedom that it gives, and the ability to be able to help other people. Remember that saying in the airplane talks about you putting on your oxygen mask first before helping those around you. So take the time to put your oxygen mask on first. Help yourself first. On that note, I'm going to bid you all adieu. Let me know how your conversations go, and I'll make the little snippet for you guys, the TKO Tough Talk. And you guys can send that snippet to the person that you need to have the tough conversation with. And I'm taking suggestions for other tough talks that we can have in the future. Remember, subscribe to my personal mailing list, and I will see you guys in the next video. Tonya TKO, and I am out. Peace.
Thank you for watching the Tonya TKO Show. It's important to like, share, comment, and ring the bell, but most importantly, subscribe to my mailing list on my website, tonyatko.com. I put the link right there in the corner. That way, we are independent of any social media's algorithm, and you can always get my videos direct to you. Again, thank you for being a knockout.